Hello crafty friends, it's Jess from JessCrafts.com, and today I have a Christmas card featuring some of the supplies I got from Tupelo Designs LLC for my Tuesdays with Tupelo feature. And so this is a card that I had to make two separate times, partly because not everything got caught on camera, and also because I was just kind of experimenting and trying to play with an idea that I had. I wanted to start by creating a background with some distress ink, and I really just want to create a blue paper with some variation in it. And so I'm using weathered wood, mermaid lagoon, and chipped sapphire. The weathered wood is a very bluish gray, and so will lend to that nighttime look and really darken things up, but still keep the blue tones. And then the mermaid lagoon will add some brightness, which would make sense with the snow and the stars. And then to darken it in terms of the color as opposed to the tone, I'm going to use the chipped sapphire. And basically, I'm just choosing three colors that are quite different from each other, just so that the final result creates a really varied sky. And I'm laying the weathered wood on just by wiping the pad all over the piece of cardstock, and then I'm going in with my ink blenders to add the other two. Just little patches of the mermaid lagoon and then patches of the chipped sapphire. Once I had that finished, I kind of tried to tone it down a bit again by swiping some more of that weathered wood, just so that the overall tone wasn't too bright, and also so that those streaky lines that were created by wiping the pad right on the paper would be a little bit less noticeable. One of the best things about distress ink, though, is once it dries, things really do start sort of blending all together. So I've put that off to the side, and now I have this Snowflake Lace stencil from Memory Box, and instead of using it as a traditional stencil where I color all of the space around it, which I could have done with distress inks and left the white of the paper showing through, I wanted to create a softer snowflake look, and so what I'm doing is pushing this white unicorn pigment ink pad from Hero Arts all over the stencil so that all of those snowflakes will now have white ink on them. Then I am placing down my paper towel to protect it from all the ink that's on the work surface, placing down my blue panel, then the stencil with the ink side down, and another paper towel, and brayering the ink from the stencil onto the blue card base. If you didn't have a brayer, you could just, sort of smush it down with your hands, but basically you want to transfer the ink from on top of the stencil onto your background to create this really soft snowflake look. And so instead of having really bright white snowflakes that you would get from using the stencil, you have a really soft snowflake look. Now I want to work on the silhouettes. I had picked up these two silhouette dies from my favorite things. There's the Paris Skyline and the New York Skyline. Today I'm going to use the Paris Skyline, although they would both work pretty similarly. And I'm using this Santa sleigh die, and it is from Couture Creations, which is, I believe, is an Australian die company, and they have really great detail. And it's called, from the Silent Night collection, On Blitzen. So I have die cut them both out of black paper to create the effect of a silhouette. And you could certainly make this card a lot faster by just using a blue snowflake paper and using these lovely silhouettes to create clean and simple and quick Christmas cards. You can mass produce them by just trimming out a bunch of these skylines and a bunch of the Santa sleighs. I am using multimedia matte all over the back because it will allow me to get a really thin line with that fine tip applicator that's on top of my multimedia matte. And when a little bit of it does squeeze out the edges, as is inevitable with these little tiny die cut pieces, I won't have to worry about them showing. It will all dry matte. And so I'm even using my brayer in this step to really push that die down onto the paper. I really want to make sure that it sticks quite firmly. But again, it is something where you could just turn it over and smooth your hand across it as well. But I do find that brayer to be a pretty useful tool in the craft room for a number of things. I will do the same thing with the Santa sleigh die. It's a very intricate die, and it is one of those solid dies where it includes the holes in it to help you pop it out. You might want to get like something like the tool-in-one, but I just used a paper piercing tool to just sort of poke out the die. I think that that does add some time to the process, but in terms of making this card quickly, but you could also use like a temporary adhesive to help you pull the die out a little bit more quickly. I would worry about it might rip it with those fine details. So I guess even though it is a pretty simple design, maybe with the fussiness of the dies it could take a little bit of extra time. But I think that people will really appreciate the cleanness of the design. So I'm going to trim up that skyline silhouette here, and then I am ready to add my sentiment. My sentiment is from My Favorite Things, from Lawn Fawn and the Toboggan Together stamp set, which I picked up last month in my design team package. And I wanted to white heat emboss it. So I'm stamping it in Versamark ink, and I know that the white will really pop against the black background and might help to bring out the white snowflakes. And so I'm making sure to use an anti-static tool before I do the embossing here, because I don't want any of that stray white embossing powder to stick where I don't want it, as the white will be really noticeable. Even one little fleck off of the sentiment will really be noticeable against the white, since it is such a bright white. And this is the Hero Arts white embossing powder, and I'm going to heat it with my heat gun. I find it helpful to heat both sides to get a little bit more of an even drying and a little bit less curling. And then I'm going to just place it on a white card base, and that's it for my card today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're interested in more crafting tutorials, please subscribe to my channel. I will be sharing more videos with my design team package from Tupelo Designs LLC, so be sure to tune in each Tuesday for Tuesdays with Tupelo. Thanks for watching. Bye.